Everyone to an amazing matchup between Gukesh and Vaishali. Gukesh is the current India number one. Vaishali is one of India's top female players, and this is going to be a brilliant matchup. Vaishali has played phenomenally in this tournament. She's beaten Sethu Raman, Shamshidin Wokidov. Gukesh, on the other hand, was on 3.5 out of 4 but lost to SL Narayanan. We have the shake of hands and we are about to begin. Gukesh plays his pawn up to c4. It's the English opening that he goes for, and Vaishali would be very well prepared in the opening like she generally is. She takes her time, close to 30 seconds, and plays e6. This is something that we've seen Vaishali doing. Also Prag does it, Vidit does it. They take their time out of the opening, maybe just get into the right frame of mind. And look at Gukesh taking 3 minutes for move number 2. Just trying to assess what are the possibilities that would lead to the kind of game that he wants to play today. D5 played. So we have the Queen's Gambit declined. If Gukesh goes D4, will he play it? Will he go into that mainline stuff? Yes, he does. He plays D4. And now Vaishali knight f6, very much likely to be played. But instead she goes C5. Ooh, Tarash defense. And you can see there Gukesh looking at that move for a slightly second longer and trying to think what he should be doing. He takes the pawn on D5. Now, this is a very interesting opening choice by Vaishali. The Tarash defense leads to an isolated queen pawn because white will eventually take here or black will take here, and that's what generally happens. And it was one of the favorites of Garry Kasparov in the 1980s or so, where he beat several players playing this with the black pieces. But since then, when he faced Anatoly Karpov, he stopped playing this because it is strategically a slightly dubious opening. You are left with a weak pawn, and I think against a player of Karpov's caliber, Kasparov did not dare trying it too many times. However, Vaishali thinks this is the right opening to be played against Gukesh. Now, the setup which Gukesh has chosen with the fianchet of the bishop putting it on g2 is the main line. The bishop is beautifully positioned to attack the d5 pawn. Bishop e7, we are going into the main line territory. And now the main move here is knight to c3. Gukesh plays it. And yeah, now castle seems like the most normal and natural move here. Exactly. Vaishali castles it out. Now, one of the lines is to take. But Gukesh goes bishop g5, which is clearly the main line. But this allows black an additional option. One is to take on d4. Or first play h6. That's also... No, first take on d4. But she plays c4. With this, she's gaining space in the position, and the main line now continues with knight e5. It's been played in several games, but Gukesh plays e3. And this seems to be some preparation of his, maybe an old preparation. I don't think he would have prepared it one day before the game because there was no way to know that Vaishali would play the Tarash. So, but look at Vaishali's time. She has 1 hour 31 minutes. So she's clearly in his prep. Clearly in her prep. Bishop e6 played by her. And now Gukesh goes knight to d2. Very interesting. The main moves here are queen d7, rook c8. But white's plan revolves around the move b3 to break the position. And so Vaishali goes h6. Maybe not the best move because clearly you want to take the knight here. If by going back, that doesn't seem very logical. So takes, and now b3 is what Gukesh will do because breaking that structure is a good idea. Now, if black doesn't do anything, white wants to take, and then have this very nice pawn center. So Vaishali takes on b3, and this is already slightly inferior position. One could take with the knight or the queen. Both of them look very logical. Knight takes looks even better because the knight can jump to c5. And if you try to stop it with b6, the knight can reroute itself this way. But he goes queen b3, which is also fine. And I think the opening has been kind of slightly successful for Gukesh now. Knight a5, good move by Vaishali hitting the queen. Queen a4 looks like a very normal and natural move there. But instead, queen b2 was played by Gukesh. One of the positional advantages for white is that he has only 2 pawn islands while black has 3 here. And the d5 pawn is slightly weak and isolated, and you will see that in the remainder of the game that remains a very central part of this entire battle. There are 2 attackers here, 2 defenders. Keep that in mind. Rook c8 played by Vaishali. Maybe another interesting idea was to play this rook, but she goes for this one. And now Gukesh realizes that he needs to increase the pressure on the d5 pawn. That is the reason why he plays a4. One idea is of course to clamp the b5 square, but the other is to move the queen to a2 to attack the d5 pawn. Vaishali plays a6 to stop queen b5 or knight b5 or any such moves that are possible. But now you can see Gukesh will go on with his idea of queen a2, good move, and he has 58 minutes on the clock. Vaishali is down to 38 minutes. Rook d8 played to defend that pawn on d5. And how does Gukesh continue now? He wants to maybe use this knight and trade for this, but the knight could settle down on c4. Rook b1 played, a useful move in the position. And I think a very good idea now is to play. Oh, nice move by Vaishali. This was exactly the move that I wanted. Bishop e7, looking at the b4 square, and the knight could reroute itself there. So fantastic chess by Vaishali until now. Knight e2, and now maybe just knight c6, or first trade on c1, and then knight c6, looking at the b4 square would be so good. She takes on c1, very logical. And Vaishali has 27 minutes on the clock. Gukesh has 43 minutes. Rook takes on c1, and now I think you could play g5. That is one idea, stopping knight f4, but bishop b4 is not the best. Knight c6 was really very cool, because once your knight is placed here, it's a very nice position for black. Instead, bishop b4 now allows knight b3, an interesting move, because if knight c4, which Vaishali wants to play, knight f4 puts a lot of, oh, she goes knight c4 anyway. Regardless of that, she goes knight c4, and now Gukesh can put his knight on this square, which he does. e6 is a little bit soft, d5 is a little bit soft, the knight on c4 is not very stable. Vaishali goes b6, and she tells Gukesh, your knight is not coming here. How do you make progress is the question, and not so easy to answer this question. Gukesh plays knight a1. His idea is that he wants to go maybe knight c2, knight e1, knight d3. That could be a plan. Rook c8, Vaishali logical chess. She's played 24 moves and matched Gukesh move for move. h4, and nice little move here by Gukesh, because g5 is always on the cards and he doesn't want that to happen. So now his knight on f4 is very well secured. Bishop a3, great tactical move here. If rook takes c4, rook takes c4, queen takes a3, it leads to queen takes a4, and black is still doing fine. So Gukesh doesn't indulge in that. He goes to c3 with his rook, attacking here. Now Vaishali could have been bold and taken this pawn. It leads to loss of d5 pawn, but instead she goes bishop b4, attacking the rook. The rook comes back to c2, and now how do you continue this position? One idea is to just drop back your bishop and try to take this pawn, this knight, but she goes b5. Fine, that's okay. Gukesh takes ab, and now you can see the time pressure coming up for Vaishali. She's down to 1 minute 53 seconds, and Gukesh has 26 minutes. Although black's position is completely fine, Vaishali has played this beautifully. But this is where Gukesh starts to, sort of create these tricks. He's very, very tricky in general. Okay, Vaishali now, what does she do? She goes bishop d2, provoking Gukesh to take here, take here, take here. This position is fine for white, but it's very risky to give these two passers. So Gukesh instead goes rook b1. He's like, I don't want to get into this business. Now bishop f5, attacking the rook would be a nice plan. But she goes b4, and this is actually the big mistake in the game. Move number 30 turns into a error, because now Gukesh goes knight b3, attacking the bishop and planning to enter c5. Bishop c3 played, and you will sense that with this knight coming to c5, this knight on f4, the bishop here, there is too much pressure on these light squares. So Vaishali now plays her queen up, and a good idea now is to take, put your bishop here, move your queen from this side and or from this side. But Gukesh actually does nothing. He builds up, he continues building up the pressure. He goes rook c1, and Vaishali plays a rook to b8. So that is one of the things that Gukesh does very well, is that he keeps building the pressure. You know, he's like this thing where he wants the whistle to blow in the pressure cooker at the final moment. No small whistles there. b3. And now a very good move is to take with this knight. Pawn takes and knight takes here, because d5 would also be hanging. But actually Gukesh takes with the other knight, which is not very accurate, and Vaishali plays a very nice move here. b2, rook b1, and now knight d2 is a fantastic move. Leave alone those knights. It doesn't matter. Knight d2 and the game still goes on. Vaishali has 17 seconds in her hand. She needs to figure it out. No, she takes here the final mistake of the game. And I think now the game is over, because now Gukesh has this powerful move. Knight takes e6, which he finds in an instant. Queen takes e6, the b8 is hanging, and otherwise g7, mate is threatened. So Vaishali takes it. But yeah, this is now game over, because Gukesh chops off the rook. Queen takes b8, king h7, and the queen will now come back and save everything in the position. The bishop will be would be attacked. Queen b3 played by Gukesh, and Vaishali played so well. She had some great chance. You can see there Gukesh looking at the games above. He knows that he's won here, and queen f5 does attack the b1 rook, but e4 is a classy move by Gukesh. Now the queen is attacked, and if the pawn takes the pawn, which she does, the bishop is hanging, and so queen takes on c3 played by Gukesh. Last trick for Vaishali involves with a pawn push attacking f2 and b1, but I believe Gukesh would have had a response prepared for that as well. This is move number 40 we have reached. So Gukesh takes on b2, defending this. He's piece up even after Vaishali takes the rook, and I think it's time to call it a day for Vaishali. She played phenomenally well, but in the end Gukesh showed that he could handle the pressure better. And Gukesh says, why didn't you play queen a4 when the rook went to c3? That seemed like a good idea. And he asks for analysis. That was very